Hello and welcome to our fourth episode of the SFR She Suite. My name is Mindy Seeger. So happy to be here.
Hey, Stacey the Satyr, welcome. Glad you can join us. We have another guest on today, so stay tuned for that.
Hey guys, I'm Tanya Odell. Welcome to this episode of the SFR She Suite. I am very, very excited today because we have another awesome guest that's joining us. And this guest is near and dear to my heart. She has been a mentor within this industry, personal friend, colleague. I'm very blessed to call her a friend aside from a colleague. But we have Dee Dee Lee joining us today, y'all. She is the President-elect for NARPM, and we are just honored to have her here. Welcome, Dee Dee.
Hi, ladies. It's such a pleasure being here. And just so the audience they don't get confused, it's Dee Dee Garzon now because I was married 2 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Everyone's confused because I just decided, after 2 years of being married, to change my last name. So everyone, including myself, I have to get used to it.
You know what? It's okay. Do you know I was married twice? You know how many driver's licenses I have? It's like a deck of cards. You know,
I can relate for sure.
You know what I mean? I sit there and I'm like,
So I gave you a little brief intro, Dee Dee, but tell all of the She Suite, squad, a little bit more about yourself.
Yes. So when Tanya and I first met, I was in the very beginning stages of running my property management company in Atlanta. And then fast forward to 2021, I was able to sell that to Pure Property Management. So Pure is a national company. I'm still a part of Pure as a limited partner and also industry liaison. Outside of that, I manage a portfolio of short-term rentals and midterm rentals here in Atlanta still. I can't get away from property management, apparently. But I also very involved in my industry organization. NARPM stands for National Association of Residential Property Managers, where most of us focus on single-family residential property management. I am the sitting president-elect for NARPM.
So we were talking about what to title this episode, and Mindy came up with The Boss of Both Worlds. So I thought that was very applicable to you and what I know of you as far as being, a mom, a wife, an entrepreneur, as a female, volunteering and being on the board of all of these organizations. So we're excited to hear a little bit more about how you do it, how you balance all of that. And then, just from a female perspective that not everybody has,
Yeah, sure. I'll pick a really painful time first because that's where growth happens, right? So I started my business was third-party management business in 2010. I was a real estate investor. I had about 12 properties before that, and that's how I cut my teeth on property management. And then 2010 was, if you guys remember, a great time for rentals and growing the property management business. So I decided to open it up to third party. And in 2010, I had a 1-year-old baby and then a 3-year-old baby. And then at that time, the market was so good for property management. I was bringing in 8 doors a month, 8 doors a week. So I was growing super fast and doing everything on my own. It was before I discovered technology and software. Before I discovered Tanya, and and I was pulling my hair out, and I started having heart palpitations, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm what's wrong with my heart? I think I'm gonna have a heart attack or something. Never experienced it before in my life, and I was only 28 at that time. And so I went to the doctor and he's like, what do you do for a living? I was like, I manage properties. And he's like, oh, it must be a very stressful job. I was like, no, I'm good. It's fine. And he's like, no, you're experiencing the heart palpitations because you are stressed out. And he's like, what happens to your body is you're always on the go, you're always doing things. And you're building adrenaline in your body, right? So by the end of the day, your body doesn't know how to relax, doesn't know how to shut down. and all that adrenaline is still there. So that is like, it's like an induced panic attack. basically. Even though mentally I don't feel panic, it's your body like signaling that you are not okay, right? And so he's like, okay, solution to that is work on yourself, start working out, because working out gets that adrenaline out of your body. And so that was when I realized, like, this is not sustainable, right? I have to figure something out. And that was when I started like trying to automate the different parts of my life to be more efficient. So I discovered emails, I discovered online grocery shopping. I started delegating work to my husband because I was doing everything. And yeah, it's just those moments that makes you realize you need to change your life. That was one of the learning moments in my life.
I think that is definitely female specific, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know how warranted that would be if that were a male in that particular situation, because maybe the expectations of, the boss of both worlds, that other world, you don't really have to be the boss of.
I think after I was kind of in a different situation that you were in, but single mom of 3. My ex-husband decided to leave and take off when my 2 children were 7 and 4. So I was left zero, nothing, right? So I started my jewelry business, right? And that was one way that I could keep working and be at home for the kids. I think there was a moment I was, I think it was a good solid hour I was crying in the closet wondering, what am I supposed to do? But getting through that, I started realizing, I was like, you know what I mean? Your health starts to decline, but you don't know you're in the storm until you're in the storm, right? Figure it out and look back.
That's a great point.
Something's happening, right? Like, and it's already messed up. The world's on fire, but keeping that, that level set, you know what I mean, in your head. Okay, I have kids that are relying on me right now. And I never took a victim role mentality. You don't have a choice.
You don't. You don't have time to.
No. So I didn't, sit and cry anymore. You don't have a choice. So that's how I built it. And, it's not a sad story. It's a great story. It's wonderful. Sitting here, right?
I can relate, Stacey, because I was a single mom. So after that chapter, right, I became a single mom, had 3 kids, and yeah, you gotta make it work.
And at that time you were running your own company still, right?
Yes, I was still running my company. I had a team. And let me tell you, there's struggles when you're doing things on your own. You're always working, doing everything. But then when you have a team, it's a totally different struggle, right? You become like a mom inside your home, and you're also a mom at work. It was a lot. Like, you're balancing business, the business aspect of things, and you also have to be there for your team as a good leader, as a good boss. And then you come home and you have to be there for the kids. But I remember the one thing I held on to during that period. I was single for 3 years. During that period, I'm like, I will no longer put myself last, right? Because up to that point, like, what made me realize that I was so unhappy before, even though I had successful business, great house, like to the outside world, it was perfect. But I was not happy on the inside. And I'm like, what is going on, right? So I realized there are so many things that I had to work on myself, instead of focusing on like external things, external validation. I had to work on myself, right? And that's like, that realization led me to become single, which was a good thing. It was a good step. And then that realization also made me realize, like, no matter what, moving forward, of course, my kids are going to be first, my family, and myself. I never let go of that.
I think it's really important. That's probably the most important message that you can say here, and that is learning how to perform self-care, because like I said earlier, the body does keep score, and I mean, it's almost like a vehicle. You don't do vehicle maintenance, you don't take care of it, you don't do the oil changes and things like that. It's going to break down, and your body definitely does that and behaves that way. So it's so important, to really get that message out to others, because we as women, it's so easy to put ourselves last because we're people pleasers. We want to make sure everybody's taken care of. That's how we're conditioned. That's kind of part of the fabric of who we are. And it's so hard to stop or take those moments to perform self-care. But we have to realize we have to do it for long-term health physically, for long-term health emotionally. And if we don't take good care of ourselves, we can't take care of others.
I was fortunate because at the time I had to obviously, I was, doing my jewelry business and things like that. Then I started out and I literally took, the minimum wage job ever. And then I worked my way up, right? Because I had to get a rental, right? All of these things are happening all at the same time. But I was really fortunate, and I had a really good boss, a male boss, and he was understanding with what I was going through. So I was really supported, and that made everything, 100 times better.
That's huge. I mean, having that support at work, because you already feel so alone, right? And if you're not understood at work where you spend most of your time, it's going to make things very difficult.
The hardest thing when I think about those moments for me, like as a woman, I think I have heard over and over from my kids, from other people that have been a part of my life, like, you're the most selfless person that I know. You're the most selfless person that I know. And as much as I take that as a compliment, I've had to learn in the last few years of my life that yes, that is an asset to be able to be that way as far as just human to human is concerned. But I had to teach myself and learn how to ask for help. I thought I was a failure or super weak if I had to ask for help, and how to advocate for myself instead of just continuing to try to do all the things like you're talking about, Dee Dee or Stacey, and then you end up, in the hospital or super depressed or with heart palpitations or whatever it is. And I think it's just our nature to keep, you just keep pushing forward. You're in that survival mode and you've just got to do it. And you feel so weak asking for help. And so I feel like that's what's so beautiful about these environments is when we open our mouth and we share stuff, it's just so empowering to everybody. And we're so much stronger because of it when you do. And you realize, I've shared, things with Dee Dee over the years, and we were going through similar things at the same time and didn't even know it. And it's just, it's really empowering from woman to woman. It's like, oh, I'm not alone.
Tanya, you said it is and I think Mindy mentioned it too when you were talking, is that women tend to be more like nurturers, people pleasers. We like to say yes, right? We like to make people happy. And that was the exact thing that led to my unhappiness. Was I said yes too much, I did too much, I forgot about myself. And so in addition to self-care, the other thing is that I've learned along the way is having clear boundaries and setting expectations with people. It's like, look, I'm still the same nice, soft, right, person that want to help, but there is a boundary now. It's like, I think women also struggle with that, is telling people no, or if we can't do something, it makes us feel like we're failing them. But
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a mindset that I had to learn to change. And it didn't make me a bad person. And you know what? The end result of that transformation for me was that people respected me more for it. And I respected myself more for it. And I had more time from it. And, and then people actually appreciated the honesty. So if someone's listening and they're struggling with, having too much on their plate because they don't know how to say no, just know that people aren't going to be mad at you. You just have to be upfront with them with the expectation.
That's so true. I just wrote an article about this, that the most powerful word in your vocabulary is the word no. And if you say yes when you really can't, but you're extending yourself, you're essentially saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your needs. And I think as women, we've been conditioned to play nice, to make others, if other people are happy because we're helping them, then we should be okay with that. And we're not putting ourselves first, or even close to last. It doesn't mean that we have to stand up and say no to everything, but we do have to stand up for ourselves and say yes to ourselves.
You know, Dee Dee, you were talking about boundaries. That's one thing that I struggle with is you have to set a good enough boundary where you're drawing a line, but not something that you're willing, that you can change or that you want to alter, right? It has to be, you know, within reason. That was always my problem. Like, you know, I'm leaving, I'm out. Well, that's pretty much not a good boundary, right? 'Cause, you know,
Right. I think boundaries is a whole topic in and of itself. We could tackle another day, because I know I've been guilty of it where, you know, what I've learned, and this is just me, Tanya, teaching Tanya, so it's a little raw and unorthodox as most things that I do. But I told myself, when I say yes, when I mean no, to your point, Mindy, or you know, don't set clear boundaries, I'm giving people permission to take advantage of me.
Yes.
Right. And so what happens is that happens gradually. And then the next thing you know, it's a year down the road and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person's saying that to me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. How do I get out of this situation? And then you're like, holy shit, I kind of put myself there. You know?
Yeah.
Environment. Right.
And it just happens a little bit at a time.
It does.
It's a hard lesson to learn, but you know.
What's really cool though is you can stop that right there, and you can go back. You can go, okay, I'm going to set this boundary. You don't have to feel bad or weird about it if you know what I mean. You kind of go, all right, I set this boundary. Now I screwed it all up. It's not all screwed up. You can start over. And Dee Dee, I was going to ask you, when you were struggling going through all this stuff, did you find yourself saying sorry all the time?
I did. So that was another one of my bad habits. So Stacey, like I found a great article when I realized I was like being this way and I need to stop being this way. Found a great article. It was like 30 things, kind of like a test. How many of these 30 things are you guilty of? Because they were all like tests to see if you had a boundary or you had no boundary. So I was guilty of a lot of it. For example, when you get a text, do you feel the need to respond right away? When you tell someone no, do you feel the need to explain to them, over-explain, like why?
That's a big one. Yeah.
That's huge.
And what I did over like 3 years was work on one thing at a time, because you can't just change a habit that you've built for 30, 40 years of your life and expect one day to be different. You have to first be determined, like, I no longer want to be that person. I want to be a person that is more in control, more respected of, you know, of others and of myself. And I want to have a boundary. What does that look like? So the 30 things will help you kind of like define your boundaries and then work on yourself. So I literally, it took me 3 years to work through those 30 things. And I can, you know, say I'm still working on it, right? There are times where I'm like, wait a minute, don't do that. You're going backwards, you know, so it's just great. I'll share with you, Tanya, for sure.
Oh, thank you.
That would be amazing. And I think that would be so helpful to, I know me, I can only speak for myself, but I can assume that it would be helpful to a lot of other people too. And I think about that, like if you were, you know, 20 years ago, right? Like what advice would you give to another female that was in your shoes when you know, were going through all of that?
Yes, I would say look up, right, from what you're doing every now and then, and ask the questions like, am I doing this for myself or am I doing this for someone else? And then 2, look up and see who around you could maybe help you. Because we talked about this, right? Like it's so hard for us to ask for help, but when you start to ask for help, it is ridiculous how much more you can accomplish, especially if you own a business or you are an entrepreneur. You want to maximize your capabilities. And like we always say, if I could clone myself, I would da da da. Well, you can if you learn how to delegate and train the right way. So one of the things I also implemented was to hire a personal assistant. That was very hard for me because when you hire a personal assistant, you have to open up to that person. You have to trust that person. You have to learn to take what you're doing and make that person or help that person learn how to do it the similar way, right? And so it was a process, but once I got that personal assistant in place, she was just part-time. But if she could take, I always said, like, if she could take 1 hour a day for me and just take it off my list, what else can I do with that hour, right? I can go to the gym now. I can spend time with my kids. I can do whatever else with that hour. So if a personal assistant can come in and spend a couple hours a day helping you out, like that was a tremendous thing for me. I had mostly a female team when I ran my business, and I had to remind them all the time, like, please speak up when you feel like overwhelmed, because I would rather you say something than for your stress to like blow up, then it's a big mess, right? So I would always say, okay, anyone at any time could call a get GSD day, which stands for get
shit done. You can say
thank you.
Thank you.
Me and Stacey have t-shirts.
Do you really?
Say
That's
shit
amazing.
done.
Yeah, so get shit done day. And that's where, when a team member, if they start to feel overwhelmed because they have too much on their plate, they can call it GSD day. And then everybody would stop what they're doing for 2 hours and take tasks off of this person's plate and help them get shit done that day. It's such a big relief to people. And I'm always like, you need a GSD day.
And it's nice that you're making it a safe environment by having that policy in place for them to raise their hand and say, I need help.
Yeah, I think as like a leader in general, even like men, women, should make their team feel like it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
So it's like women already find it very hard to ask for help. But if the leadership in a company recognize that and encourages that we ask for help and it's not a sign of failure or weakness, then I think we would all have much healthier work environments.
Oh, I've loved this conversation so much.
Me too.
So, yeah, it's so relatable. Within our professional worlds, within our personal lives, like sometimes it just the boss of both worlds, so to speak. It can be hard. It's the most rewarding thing to me to do. So before we wrap up, I wanted to give Dee Dee an opportunity to being the president-elect for NARPM. We have National coming up in Orlando.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for giving me the option to talk about that. So the National Convention is one of NARPM's premier events. We always do it big. We've got a ton of vendors, top of the line technology. Every time I go to these conferences, I'm like, how fast is our industry growing with technology? But they're going to be there. We have a great lineup of speakers and education, mastermind opportunities, networking opportunities. So anybody who is, in property management, residential, single family, or even small multifamily, build to rent, when you come to this, you will walk away with so much knowledge. And even if you implemented one thing, I always say it would boost your bottom line at least $10,000, tens of thousands of dollars. So it's definitely worth the investment to come. Bring your team. It's in Orlando, October 20th to October 23rd.
That's fantastic. I know I plan on being there, and I am really excited to go.
I will be there too. I'm pumped about it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching today. And thank you to Dee Dee Garzon for joining us and sharing so much valuable information with our She Suite squad today.
Dee Dee, I want to thank you so much for teaching us how to be the boss of both worlds.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation today, ladies.
And as we wrap this up, we're so grateful to Dee Dee Garzon, and we're so excited for her, for NARPM, the incoming president. And this will be my very first conference I'm going to for NARPM in Orlando coming up the end of this month. And if you too are a first timer, you definitely need to connect with me, because they are having a first timers a celebration at NARPM. And to get more information on that, let's connect, because I'm excited to be a first timer and we can be first timers together.
Yeah, it was really great to have everybody watching this, and great job having her on here, because she taught us a lot of good lessons here.
Definitely appreciate Dee Dee joining us. She is the 3B. She's bold, she's beautiful, she's badass, she's all the things. And I will see you guys in Orlando. I can't wait to see everybody when I get there. The people are by far the best part.